Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office. It looks a bit weird today, video-wise, because I'm actually on my phone, but I wanted to record a video a bit about my video recording equipment, very briefly, just to show you some of the options that I've taken and some of the path I've travelled. So you can see here a range of cameras, and some I bought earlier than others. So if we start on the well, we'll start on the right, because this is the camera I bought first, and this is a Panasonic GH4, and I got it with the, you can see here, 14-140 lens. I used this as my primary recording device back in the day when I started my channel about a year or so ago. Excellent camera, magnesium body. You can see the screen there flips right round, all sorts of angles, so ideally you can use it for looking at yourself. Zoom lens, optical image stabilization in the lens on Panasonic cameras. Said magnesium body, very tough. Look, you can see me there. If you want to be able to take good pictures, they're a pretty good camera too. They, if with a nice fast bit of glass, you'll be able to just hold that button down and it'll just take, you know, dozens and dozens of frames a second, like a machine gun. Really useful for kids' parties because you'll always catch something. On the back, loads of handy buttons, Wi-Fi, the usual sort of gadgets for sort of transmitting the data to and from your phone if you need to. SD card slot in the side by the handle, so that's handy right there. You can see actually I'm holding it with one hand and still kind of able to function it, and that's really what you're looking for. It's very easy to use in the field. There's the SD card thing. So when you're on the tripod, again, that's quite handy. But then again, some cameras take the SD card in the bottom, like my Fujitsu. It's not a big deal, but it's a nice one for that, because I have a sort of video recording sequence where I'll be over there by the teardown lab and I'll want to take the card right here, plug it into my PC up there and make a very quick video. So that's good. And then after I got that, I then moved on to some GFs. Now GF3s don't do the full, well, that does 4K, by the way. That does 4K and it does 1080p, 100 or 50 or something like that. It's good. It's more than enough for most people. You could film a movie on that. GF3s, for example, they only take sort of 720p, but again though, same Micro Four Thirds system, can't take an external microphone unfortunately, but the size is so handy, it's always there in your pocket. So what I've done in the past is use the various sort of brackets you can get and mounted some lights, and if I could find some lights, there we go, to it. And it makes a seriously little ghetto rig, because you can imagine it's only like that big. You can go around and just record everything. But you can't pull the screen out. That's the only downside, really. You can't pull the screen out to look at yourself, but you can have a fair idea. Especially if you use a 14mm pancake lens like that. Really nice lenses. Very fast. Again, optical image stabilization in the lens. Very smart sort of gear. I do like the Micro Four Thirds. It's light. That's the one thing. It feels like you can get a lot of lenses in your bag and then still, have plenty of shoulder capacity left for other heavy things. So this is the same camera but in white, but with the slightly larger 14-42 zoom lens. So that's nice too. So if you're doing a bit of photography, it's nice to have the zoom lens, and you can see there the actual lenses come often with lens hood. So if you're going to buy a lens second hand, grab the lens hood there. I need to just twist that. There we go. Sorry, a bit awkward there with one hand, but you've got those nice lens hoods to keep the sun off the lens. Again, all these lenses are compatible with each other, so that's a really nice little rig. Look, it's quite tiny body for that such big lens, but you'll get really great pictures. Again, pretty fast. You can keep your hand held down on the shutter on these and they'll run as fast as they can. If you've got a piece of glass like the 14 pancake lens, which I think is 1 f-stop less than this one, it'll really rattle off a lot of pictures even in quite low light. So here, this is the actual 14-42 lens again that's using that GF3, but this is a Panasonic GH3, so this is the precursor to this one, and it's very similar. You'll be hard pressed really to see the differences. There's some sort of modifications on the GF3, such as the lock button on the mode selector and things like that, but yeah, not a big deal. But yeah, they've sort of really just taken the GF3 and sort of tweaked it and perfected it and made it 4K, and that's the GH4. So the GH3 is pretty much standard as a 1080p 50 camera. Yeah, you can record HD video all day long. Again, SD card on the side, same lenses, absolutely great. And also the accessories fit between the two. So if you've got the batteries, I've got a pile of batteries somewhere I use for these. Batteries last a long time on these cameras, by the way. You can actually use things like this additional sideways lever thing battery doofer that goes on the side and then turns it into like a nice little portrait camera and gives you an additional battery. Trigger, focus, see, duplicates all the buttons again on the side. And even that was quite cheap. I think that was probably under £30, I believe. And then if you're really keen, because you do have an interchangeable lens system, then you can start using speed boosters. There's two things. So one, you can have adapters. So this is just a plain adapter, and this will let you go from a standard micro four thirds to a Canon 4/3 Canon lens, EOS lens, to a micro four thirds. Getting confused there. But you'll get a cropping factor, sort of a 2x cropping factor. So that's fine. But if you go for a lens that might be quite wide on a Canon, you go, yeah, that's nice. It'll look a little bit pinched when you get to the micro four thirds, but that's something you can get used to and work with, actually, frankly. These are sort of Olympus sort of lenses as well, got adapters for those. Again, lovely bit of glass, really, quite heavy, works well. Again, so if you're happy to manually focus, you can use those in the same way. And if you're really lucky, and I think this is one right here, indeed, this is a focal reducer. So what this is, it's actually an adapter, and it reduces the focus. So that 2x cropping factor I talked about earlier, that removes that cropping factor. So that will get you, again, be able to use the lens in almost its native kind of size and aspect. But what it is, due to some magic trickery, if you think about it, that glass at the front here is that much bigger on these lenses. You're actually getting more light. So imagine you're getting, I'm going to say double the light. It's not true necessarily, but you're getting double the light on on a much smaller area, because the actual CCD of the camera is smaller. So these will work really well in low light. You'll actually get more light into your camera than its original lens system is designed for. So that's why they call it a speed booster. It will become faster. Be able to snap off those pictures or take that video in the conditions a lot darker than you normally would get away with. So that's all good. And then once you've got that, of course, you can see here the Rode shotgun mic. Pretty good, actually. Not as good as you might think, but it's good. If you're going to get an external mic, that's a good one to start with, any of the Rode ones really. But if you want to get kind of a bit more serious, I think these Rode Lynx are definitely worth investing in. So these are sort of radio wireless mic. They're quite handy because they fit on the same hot shoe system as the camera. You can have belt clips too if you want them. I've used these quite successfully, and you can kind of glue these onto the end of a boom if you want and use them as a boom mic. So you've got lots of options with there. These actually come with a little mini dead cat to go on the end of that too, and that's fine. I think it's almost just as good as that. But again, it depends where you're trying to record. If you take something like this though to a show, because you want to record like a show, just doesn't work. Just gets too much sound. If anything, you just hear a load of background noise. So I hope that's some idea for you when you're looking to buy a camera. Again, I like the micro four thirds because there's lots of companies do them now, and they're actually starting to make them in China, which is exciting. So they might get some very sort of cheap glass in the near future. But frankly, I reckon my personal recommendation, if you're going to go for one, get either a prime lens, either a 14 prime lens or the kit zooms. The 14-42 is good. The 14-140 is good as well. They're pretty good kit lenses. But I think if you can get I think there might be a 12 to 35. If you can get a 12 to 35 zoom, I think that's the only lens you're ever going to need, especially if you're going to be just using it for video work. 12 to 35 is all you need. Because remember, when you're filming video, you shouldn't be really zooming in and out. You should be setting it for your scene. And if you can get away with just prime lenses, you're going to get the maximum amount of light in it. It'll be optimal for you every time you film, and there's one less parameter. Because remember, when you've got zoom lenses, as you zoom them out, their light response changes, so they become slower normally the further you zoom in. So there you go. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them down below. If you're that way inclined, like and subscribe, and as ever, thank you for watching.